Happy New Year. Tomorrow is the first day of 2021, and I'm taking a moment to make a top 10 list with a purpose. We're talking about the top 10 videos on my channel in the year 2020, not to celebrate, certainly not to reflect on the success or the failure of my channel, but to basically underscore the point that if you want to come on the internet and make meaningful content, you can't let your decisions be shaped by the size of the audience you reach. You can't let your measure of success or failure be the number of viewers per video. For those of you who are not regular viewers of my channel, you may find the reflections here a little bit bewildering. But what I try to do is make content that's meaningful for me and is meaningful for a particular audience that may be quite different from one video to the next. So to give an example, if I'm making content about learning Chinese, obviously I'm imagining an audience of people who are themselves also trying to learn Chinese, or in some cases people who are considering their options before making the commitment to learn Chinese. Just lately I've actually gotten quite a lot of fan mail from those people, from people who are saying, well, they're thinking about really committing a few years of their life to learning Chinese, and they're watching my videos before making that decision. If I'm making videos about politics, if I'm making videos about history, philosophy, each one of these has a different imaginary audience for whom it's ideal. But ultimately, I have to think about myself. I have to think about my own daughter, my own hypothetical grandkids in the future or something, watching this many years from now. I have to have a long-term view of the short-term creative challenge of making YouTube videos. And I wish I could tell you that I was one of a whole generation of people making content in this way, making videos that we really think are meaningful, that really matter long-term. But I'm all alone out here on YouTube. I don't have colleagues. I don't have contemporaries. I don't have friends on the platform. That's why there are so few videos where I'm collaborating with other YouTubers, or even where I'm clashing with other YouTubers in, say, the last 2 years. It's been a very lonely road to get on. But for those of you who are regular viewers of my channel, it will be immediately obvious to you that this set of top 10 videos, these are by no means the most meaningful videos on my channel, and they're also not even videos that succeeded in reaching their intended audience. Right? So number 10 on this list is titled, Is Lao Shu's Language... Number 10 on the list is titled, Is Lao Shu's Language Learning Method a Scam? And as you might surmise, the answer is yes.
So right now I'm doing, I'll just list a few. I got Tamil going on, Sinhala, Arabic, Sudanese Arabic, Russian, Pashto, Bosnian, Swedish, Armenian, Hindi. What's another one I'm doing? Tree and Assyrian. So it's quite a bit of them. It's a lot of them going on right now. But
now that reached about 6,000 viewers in a year. But if you just look at the thumbs up to thumbs down ratio, you can see it's reaching the wrong audience. You can also compare this to the last several years of videos I've made about this sort of question, looking at polyglots and the advice they give on language learning, or my own videos about how to learn Chinese and other languages, and you can see I'm utterly failing to reach that audience. So it's quite likely this link was just shared by fans of Lao Shu coming to give it the thumbs down. I think it's a meaningful video. As with all these things, I'm motivated really by the content of what I have to say. For me, it's rewarding to go back and listen to that now. It's still interesting. It still matters. There's still practical advice that would be useful for the right people if they're the ones clicking on it. And again, I do get fan mail for this type of video and for this video in particular. But to look at this as a success, it's very difficult in many ways. Really, this is a further example of failure. Number 9, another example of a video that has far more thumbs down than thumbs up. Shane Dawson versus Brie Esrig. This is not a shallow gossip video. This is a video with a really meaningful point to make, and I still stand by it, and I still enjoy listening to it today. 5 years from now, when I've completely forgotten about what the controversy is between Shane Dawson and Brie Essrig, I'll still think this is a meaningful and worthwhile video. However, even though this reached a reasonable number of viewers, it very much reached the wrong audience. And obviously those 6,000 people have not become regular viewers of my channel. Probably none of them even watched one other video on my channel before giving it the thumbs down and moving on, because this isn't the kind of shallow snap judgment that they were looking for. At that time especially, all that the audience was looking for was harsh moral condemnation directed towards Shane Dawson. And incidentally, that's what Brie Essrig offered. By the way, if you check Brie Essrig's YouTube channel, she's even less successful than I am now, but she rode a wave of controversy at that time by indicting and condemning her former friend, Shane Dawson, someone who actually she could feel some gratitude towards for creating her relatively long-lived career. Another example of the same phenomenon, Jordan Peterson's brain damage. Now, this is a meaningful video talking about Jordan Peterson's history with drug addiction and mental health treatment of various kinds. And, it's not a joke. These drugs cause brain damage, and Jordan Peterson is now struggling with the consequences of bad choices he made in life. And of course, part of what makes that so remarkable is that he had a PhD in precisely this field. Many people who are victims of, psychiatric treatment in this way, they were just desperate for help, went in and asked a therapist to help them or asked a psychiatrist to help them, and they had no idea what they were getting themselves into when they accepted a bottle full of pills. I've used this clip before on my channel, but this is really instructive in showing you what akathisia is, what it is about this that makes life so unbearable. This is a seemingly beautiful, intelligent young woman who took a very low dose of a very common SSRI antidepressant. She was on a low dose of Lexapro, very commonly prescribed, and her life has been totally destroyed. And you know what's worse? She has to live with the awareness that these horrible physical symptoms that make it impossible for her to sit down, impossible for her to stand still, impossible for her to play the piano, impossible for her to hold a pen and write for any period of time, impossible for her to sit at a computer and type. These unbelievably horrible symptoms, they're not caused by damage to her nervous system. It's not like she had a car accident that injured her neck or her spine or her arms or her legs. No, she has to live with the awareness that this is because of brain damage. This is damage in her brain that fundamentally impairs how she feels, how she thinks, how she's able to perceive and understand the world. It fundamentally changes who she is for the worse, forever. If the symptoms themselves don't drive you to suicide, the awareness of that, it's very likely to do so. Well, Jordan Peterson knew exactly what he was getting himself into. I've seen him on YouTube in lectures talking about his encouraging his own patients to get on some of these same pills. And what do you know? They ruined his life in terms of brain damage. They have long-term consequences. None of you will be surprised to know that even though this reached 6,500 viewers, it reached the wrong viewers. This obviously was shared on Reddit groups of Jordan Peterson fans and Jordan Peterson supporters who just came by to, what would be the appropriate term? Just came by to show their disapproval of anyone daring to question their demigod. Look, for me, it's meaningful content. I'm glad I made the video. And for a few hundred or possibly a few thousand people, it would have been meaningful content also. But you cannot let the numbers guide your future content creation. You need to be a very resolute, very highly motivated person to make the content that's meaningful for you and the content that's meaningful for your audience, even if that audience is one that's purely theoretical. Like in the same way that I have to theorize about what someone who is studying Chinese needs to hear, like what's useful for someone who's making the decision to study Chinese or who's now in their first year of university studies learning Chinese, I have to kind of in my own mind's eye hypothesize who that audience member is and what's good for them. You have to be strongly motivated to move forward that way and not to respond positively or negatively to these kinds of numbers. Here's a video on the science behind Jordan Peterson's addiction. Obviously exactly the same comments apply. Now, here's one that's misleading in a different way. Number 6 on the list. This is one of many videos in a series I did dealing with 21st century pornography and the way in which the production of that pornography now intrudes into our personal lives and our professional lives, I might say, like never before. So this video was successful. It's a very meaningful video. I still recommend seeing it today. The problem is every other video on that playlist was unsuccessful. This one video alone, which by the way was censored by YouTube to the maximum extent, you have to be logged into your account and over 18 years old to see this video. It's also demonetized and so on. This is as restricted as any video on YouTube can get without actually being deleted by YouTube. It nevertheless reached 7,500 people. The problem is a very meaningful measure of success would be that if the people who saw this video watched at least one or two others in this kind of series of kind of documentaries and reflections that I did on this same meaningful and I think important topic. And the reality is they did not. A totally different example, I talked about ethics and philosophy of a bizarre, highly sexualized science fiction book series called Gore. And just one of those videos was successful. So again, if you're putting in the time to create, say, over an hour of content on a topic like that, spread out over a series of videos that are maybe 20 minutes each, the fact that one of those videos got thousands of views, and as you know, many of those people only watch the first 2 or 3 minutes. That's how everything is on YouTube. You have to accept that as a content creator. That single success actually indicates a much broader and deeper failure. Now, this is an important issue. I care about the issue. I care about reaching a large audience on this issue. This is an example of something where I don't just want to reach a minority within a minority of people. When I talk about pet ownership in veganism, that's a really specific topic for a really small number of people. There's some issues where I really accept, look, the maximum size of the audience for this is about 1,000 people. My critique of the animal rights philosophy of Gary Francione, my discussions of that kind, completely accept. There's a small specialized audience. When you deal with a social and political and ethical issue of broad public importance like this, of course, I really do aspire to reach a much larger audience. But the success of this one video actually just illustrates the failure of that series of videos as a whole. Number 5 on this list, this is consistently the single most successful video on my channel for many years, and it is advice on how to write the IQ test used by the Canadian military. So it's not called an IQ test, but it's a series of intelligence tests you have to write in order to enter the armed forces in Canada. This is also a great example of how YouTube videos succeed. Many people invent theories about the algorithm, about hidden forces that decide your success or failure on YouTube. No. To a greater extent than you can possibly imagine, it's people sharing the link on other websites, on other forums, whether that's Facebook or Reddit, or emailing each other. That's what makes a video successful. So this video has been shared in the different forums where people preparing to enter the military, or maybe people who failed the exam and are trying to do it again, where people are giving each other advice and say, hey, there is this video talking about what you need to get ahead to study for this exam. That is the difference between success and failure on YouTube. People have to want to see the video, and they have to share the link with others who are interested in seeing it. I would just add, I have no contemporaries making this kind of video. I don't know anyone who's really providing this kind of practical advice, trying to make problem-solving videos. I just say, I'm not saying there aren't any on the internet anywhere, but I've never known anyone like that. I don't have any colleagues, contemporaries, or collaborators I could make videos with who are motivated to make videos of that kind and to pursue success of that kind. Number 4, yet another video criticizing Dr. Jordan Peterson. This particular video, I know, was seen by Peterson himself and his daughter. Probably many of my videos criticizing him were watched by Jordan Peterson and his daughter. They left comments. They probably shared the link to some extent amongst their followers. And again, although this video has a meaningful and important message, the vast majority of people who watched it have absolutely no inclination to hear what that message is. The average duration of a view of this video is shockingly low at only 1 minute and 29 seconds. So in this case, very clearly, people were showing up just to give it the thumbs down and leave. So what is success on YouTube? What is meaningful content creation for you? Everybody's going to come up with a different answer, but I can tell you, it ain't this. The number 3 video of the year, this one does not include my voice in any way. It's a series of comedically edited excerpts from other people's channels titled Onision 1, The Last of the Beans Were Spilled, etc. It's reached a remarkably large audience. Again, if you glance at the thumbs up to thumbs down ratio, etc., the vast majority of people were just clicking on it to voice their disapproval. But again, this just reflects the culture of outrage on the internet. People wanted something to hate or disagree with, and seemingly none of these people watched this video in the context of my numerous other highly philosophical critiques and reflections on the ethics of Onision. Number 2, a satirical video that I think most people clicked on not expecting satire and social commentary. Hitomi Mochizuki, the breast massage video.
I just thought that we would open this conversation today and talk about my personal deepest heart's desires and yearnings and things that I'm trying to manifest into my life. I think it's so important to know what you want, because then you know what to work for and know what to look for and what signs to listen to if you have a clear idea of what you're seeking in this life. If energy is neither created nor destroyed, everything you will ever want is already here. It is simply a matter of choosing the thoughts which will put you into harmonious vibration with that which you desire. My soul vibrates to the childlike freedom of traveling to a new place, taking in all the colors, smells, languages, and dropping into a meditation on the senses everywhere I go.
Now, I have no regrets, as with many other videos on this list. I think as with every single other video on this list, I can say it is a meaningful video. I did have a point. I did have a thesis that I stand by. I still think it's worth seeing today. And even if it's satirical, you can still have a laugh at it today. But if you think I'm going to respond to the success of this video by making more videos of the same kind, you are wrong. And finally, the number 1 video of 2020, a video that I think my regular viewers and fans will not even remember, Final Cut Bro, Caitlin Witcher versus Pro Syndicate. A video that continues to be successful this day, a video that continues to get thousands of views per month steadily. The moral of the story is this: if you are a stand-up comedian, you can respond to the laughter or silence of the crowd. With YouTube, you are always facing the silence of the crowd. You have to be highly motivated to make meaningful content for your own reasons and for outcomes that you have clearly defined in your own mind. You cannot be motivated by, you cannot respond to the number of views per video.